Well, welcome to the underground. We are here 7 miles in the basement down below Elport, Pennsylvania. And we are going to talk about the Bible. Not a very popular thing in this day and age, but we're going to talk about it. I'm going to read from Psalm 14. I'm going to read just 1, 2, and 3. Psalm 14 says, "Only fools say in their heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, and their actions are evil. Not one of them does good. The Lord looks down from heaven on the entire human race. He looks to see if anyone is truly wise, if anyone seeks God, but no, all have turned away, all have become corrupt. There is none that doeth good, not a single one." I just saw about a week or so ago this broadcast on YouTube, and it was a story that has been told and retold, has different outcomes, different characters in it. Has anybody ever seen a movie called God Is Not Dead? It's kind of like that story. Well, the story I saw on YouTube the other day was a professor put out a challenge to his students because God is stupid and God doesn't exist and all this stuff. And he would hold up a piece of chalk and drop it. And if God is real, he'll stop this piece of chalk from breaking and all this. And then there was another story where he was going to do that, and a kid stood up and said, well, God could strike you with lightning before you drop the chalk, and then the teacher didn't drop it. And there's different tellings of this. I'm not sure. I never saw the movie God Is Not Dead, how that one ended up. But in the story I watched the other day, the student was praying, and as the teacher dropped the chalk, it hit his pant leg and rolled down his shoe onto the floor and remained intact, right? And then the teacher, being humiliated, ran away from the classroom, and the Christian student in the class got up and gave his testimony, and everybody in the class got saved. And I'm thinking, that never happens to me. I've never been in that movie. That's like, wow. The teacher never leaves in my scenario. The teacher stands there and says, well, blah, 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 all this stuff. Because there is a rise, and people are vehement in their disbelief of God. Because they say, we have this blind faith. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys about a little bit. Having a reasonable faith. Yeah, there's unreasonable faith, and there's a reasonable faith. And I honestly believe with all my heart, I've been a Christian for 30 plus years, that Christianity is a reasonable faith. But the only thing about Christianity that's a stickler for a lot of people is there's this thing called miracles. Right? Now, an atheist says the universe just happened. Right? Stuff was always there, and an old universe died, and maybe a new universe grew out of that. Or all this stuff was just there, and one day, for no particular reason, it exploded, and now it is expanding. And, there's all these views, but here's my problem with that. I think it's unreasonable. I think that to believe that takes faith. I don't have that kind of faith. I don't. I think that to believe that, you need an extra, you really got to want to believe that. And it is, in a way, in its own way, it's kind of miraculous. Where did stuff come from? What made it explode? What made it expand? And then, what made it so complex? And then, why did we crawl out all that ooze, and now we have meaning, or we search for meaning and purpose? What's all that about? I mean, that takes a lot of faith to think all that is just random. And I don't know if that blows your mind or enough, but here's where I rest with my faith. And I feel my faith is reasonable. I feel that there was a God, and there always was a God. There is a God, and there always was a God. And he had a plan. And he had a design. And he spoke that into existence. Now there we have another miracle. How does that work? It's not magic, it's just it's something that happened that you could never explain or put your finger on, but you need faith to believe that. Now, I just think that's reasonable, where someone who doesn't want God in their life would say, well, it's more reasonable for them that stuff just was and it just happened, and this is all an accidental, non-purpose thing that we got going here. It's all faith. And both sides have its own miracles. Right? Now, in our faith, I mean, there is a lot of things that make sense, but there's, like, how do you get all these animals together on a boat, and how does that boat survive the whole world going nuts and having this rain and this deluge and earthquakes and Pangea and all these things happening? How does that takes faith to believe that, and that has to have been a miracle. Because there's no way those animals are going to cooperate unless God himself made that work. But, that's one kind of faith. The other kind of faith is the world was a mess, it was a violent thing, and then there was the meteors and hitting, and the dinosaurs died and all this stuff, and then boom, we just evolved through time and, circumstance and chance. Now, here's a big problem I have as a Christian. How people take the word chance and give it such power. You have to have faith to believe that chance has any kind of power. Really? Think about it. Chance. What does the word mean? It means it just so happens that for no reason, and if you boil that down to its natural conclusion, its logical conclusion, life is meaningless. You have no purpose. And if you have no purpose and life has no meaning, then really there's no right and there's no wrong. And that means anybody can do whatever they want to. But now my friends the atheists are going to step up and say, oh no, there's a right and there's a wrong. There's a social construct of right and wrong. And I listened to Ravi Zacharias the other day, and he said this, where do you get your sense of evil or right or wrong or anything like that? Where's the standard drawn for that? And usually an atheist doesn't know. They'll say something like, well, I feel. It's just common in our DNA that we come to this hierarchy, this knowledge that something's right and something's wrong. Well, that takes faith, doesn't it? And I'm just going to say, I don't have that kind of faith. We believe, our reasonable faith, which I maintain, is that someone made that standard. Because if you leave someone to their own volition, this person thinks you love your neighbor, this person thinks you eat your neighbor. I feel strongly this way, and he feels strongly that way. Who's right? There has to be a standard. And my God says this, I loved you from the beginning. I made you with design and purpose, that everything, all your cells and membranes, everything that your eye can see and your ears can hear, and I made you perfect, I made you beautiful, and I gave you freedom, and you chose slavery. And as a result of our poor choice of slavery, a curse has fallen upon our planet. And we're dealing through that curse. But God didn't leave us in that despair. He sent Jesus in time. Now this is my faith. This is my reasonable faith. God could have just let us go, could have ripped the page off and went, oh well, do-over. But he stepped into our time. He stepped into our world through Jesus Christ. And He lived the life that we can never live. And He paid for that price on the cross. And He died, defeating sin, defeating the grave, and any afterlife problems like hell or whatever you're talking about here. He defeated it all. He overcame it all. And He rose again. And now He says, according to my reasonable faith, when I read the Bible, anyone who comes to me, all sinners may come to me, and I will not cast you out. Now why is there evil in the world? Because we messed the world up. There is hope, there is faith, and there is love. And no one and nothing explains that more than the life of Jesus Christ. That's where my faith resides. This says right here in Psalm 14, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. The Bible does not have a high view of those who don't believe in God. I mean, to me, it's obvious. I go outside and I see everything, and I don't see an accident. I see design, I see purpose, and I see order. Now, there's something screwed up in all that. That's sin. That's something that we brought into the picture. But there's also redemption. His mercies are new every morning. So there I am with my reasonable faith. You may have faith that, this is all an accident. You may feel like you don't have any purpose or any plan. I say to you, in my heart, in my life, I know that Jesus has a plan and He has a purpose. And He has a do-over for your life that's much better than what's in store for the atheist. So you think about that, and we'll see you next time. God bless.